guys? Late Night Cast Mac here. I just wanted to kind of do a video on all of the takes that I've been getting in my mentions and comments. Obviously, we're all frustrated. They're frustrated. Every single person that loves the Braves or associated with the Braves in some way, shape, or form are frustrated. But first of all, if Brian Snitker is not going to get fired unless there's a disconnect between Alex Anthopoulos, the front office, and things, or the players in some way, and that doesn't seem to be the case. Plus, Snitker has 45 plus years in the Braves organization. The only thing I can see happening is after this year, maybe him retiring, and we go a different direction. And even if we did do a knee-jerk move like that, that would probably make the players feel even worse because of Brian Snitker's tenure as a Brave. He just is a Brave. And I don't think that would help the morale at all. I understand that you want maybe a little more fire from Brian Snitker, but Brian Snitker hasn't been fiery ever in his Brave tenure, except when Ronald Acuna Jr. got hit a million times in the early days with Miami. That's the only time he gets fiery, and honestly, it would be a sign of panic if he got fiery, because that's just not who he is. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's losing sleep over the way things are going, because Brian Snitker bleeds the Braves, and if you don't believe that, I don't think that's the right way to look at it. Yeah, maybe we'll see a little bit more fire if it continues, but what do you want him to do? Get tossed and then sit in the clubhouse and stew on everything, and that's just not Brian Snitker. He's not Bobby Cox. He's from the tree of Bobby Cox, but just changing your personality, isn't effective, and that's my take on that. Plus, if you fire Brian Snitker, you're probably going to go to a guy like Walt Weiss, and Walt Weiss isn't necessarily the most fiery guy either. I don't know if you gain anything there either. So the only thing I could think of is maybe that Brian Snitker retires after this year. And if you're looking at it, things were worse in 2021 than they are now. So, and there's guys have way too much respect for Brian Snitker for things to happen unless, like I said, there's a communication breakdown or there's something that Brian Snitker is not implementing that the front office really wants him to implement, then maybe. But that's point one. Besides, Snitker can't hit the ball, can't pitch the ball, can't catch the ball, can't do the little things. Now, I do agree that he could possibly shake things up lineup-wise. Like, I've said put the names in the hat because what does it matter at this point, because every single person is struggling. Maybe we angered the baseball gods in that last year we did so historically well. They're just telling us that you need to be humbled completely and just have a lot of career worsts, I guess. But I think and Snitker doesn't have a lot of cards in the deck right now. I mean, I've thrown out the idea of putting Kelenic in the leadoff spot, but just because he took over for Ronald the day he tore his ACL and had 3 hits, or the second spot, I don't like Riley in the second spot, but Riley is just completely off this year, so I don't know if that would help either. Excuse me, a lot of allergies and stuff. But that is the only thing I can think of, but there's not a lot of cards in the deck that Snitker can play with. When you lose your table setter, your igniter, and Ronald Acuna Jr., I realized that he wasn't Ronald Acuna Jr. that we've seen. Not even MVP, like, prior to last year, historic season, he was still insane and all-star caliber, and this year he was off for his standards, but he was still giving us extra chances, giving us more competitive innings and things of that nature. So when you lose that, there's no way you can replace it. So that's number 1 point. And it's just, and we rank in the top 10 in highest barrel percentage, and we're just not getting any results out of it. And the only thing you can do as a baseball player is hit the ball hard, and the rest of it is out of your control. It's the old Troy Glaus saying that I say all the time. You're a producer, not a director, and the Braves have just been bitten by the unlucky bug. Plus now, with all of the hard contact outs, they're trying too hard in the runners in scoring position stat, swinging and missing so much because the pitching is a lot better, and it's impossible to hit. So you've got a lot of things weighing on everybody. Like, there's just a lot of really bad at bats. I'm not letting them off the hook there, but there's a lot of factors that kind of get in your head, and the entire offense is that way. Plus, I guess the other thing I could say that Brian Snitker could do is stop playing Adam Duvall against righties. But to be fair, Adam Duvall was brought here to be a strict platoon, and that quickly changed after the Ronald Acuna Jr. injury. Look, so there's a lot of ripple effect when your best player and a top 5 player in Major League Baseball goes down. And for those saying that Alex Anthopoulos was incorrect in not bringing back Kevin Pillar. One, Kevin Pillar wanted more opportunity to play, and he wasn't going to get it the way the Braves roster is structured with Ronald Acuna Jr., with Michael Harris II. It just wasn't going to happen. And he wanted to play more, and that was a perfect situation with him and the White Sox, and then getting released, and then finding a career resurgence with the Los Angeles Angels. Really excited for Kevin, and maybe we see a reunion. I don't know, but Kevin Pillar wanted to play more. It wasn't necessarily in the cards for the Braves the way the roster was set up. So I don't fault it there. It's just one of those things. And Adam Duvall has struggled mightily against righties. We just got to stop doing that. Give Brian Anderson or even Forrest Wall or Eli White a chance until we can pull off a trade. And that was another thing that we had going for us in 2021 was that Ronald Acuna Jr.'s injury was closer to the trade deadline. And I know we made the move, the move for Jack Peterson like a week or two after the Ronald Acuna Jr. injury. And it's just really, really early for that type of thing to happen right now because there are so many teams theoretically still in it with the third wild card. And then the other things I've seen, does Alex Anthopoulos not draft enough position players for position player depth in our minor leagues. A lot of our bigger prospect stars are or potential stars are in the lower minor leagues, like Isaiah Drake and Nacho Alvarez. He's kind of up there, but a lot of pundits think he's a prime trade candidate. Perdomo, we just are going to sign him in the international. So a lot of our position player prospects are younger. The most relevant probably prospect that we could see position player wise soonish, Drake Baldwin, who had 11 RBIs this week for Mississippi, I believe. So I think the depth in our minor leagues is a little lacking for sure, but the high potential stars, position player wise, are mostly in the low minors. If I'm reading the situation correctly, so that's the situation we are there. I've seen that a lot. So I just wanted to address that. And a lot of our position players that we've traded recently have netted us: Matt Olson, Sean Murphy, and let me address the Sean Murphy of it all. Obviously, William Contreras is thriving in Milwaukee, and I'm super happy for him because he's a friend to my program, liking my videos when he was with the Braves. But Milwaukee has a great track record of developing catchers. Clearly, they've done a great job. Murphy just cannot catch a break this year. Like many of our offensive players, he had one at bat or half an at bat, blew out an oblique, and just really can't get on track. And Murphy is still one of the best defensive catchers. He's and had career highs in every stat last year: 21 homers, RBIs, all of that. Led the pitching staff amazingly. So I still think it's a win-win trade. Everything is just magnified this year because our offense is struggling so mightily. But the Sean Murphy deal was fantastic. And obviously, with the rule changes, I think that's the ultimate reason we made that, with the stolen base, with the pitch clock, all of that stuff. That is the main reason we made that deal. So, my opinion, that one is a win-win. It just looks worse this year because of the injury, because of the inconsistency in our offense as a whole. So I just wanted to address that as well. Obviously we'd all love to be in a better spot and just have more life offensively, but sometimes you just don't know why things are the way they are. And again, much like Snitker, I don't see us making a change with Kevin Seitzer. Again, we may reevaluate next year because a lot of things could change. And I think that Hurston Waldrop, Spencer Schwellenbach, those are key cogs to what we're going to do in the future. So I think it's a bit of overreaction to say we're showcasing them in trades, because those are two of our top 3 prospects. Showcasing them in trades because things may be more expensive. Maybe. But the reality of Alex Anthopoulos is he doesn't give a crap about service time or any of that. If he thinks these guys can come up and help the Braves win, then he's going to do it. And it may be doing a disservice in terms of the way Snitker manages the bullpen, that these guys are hitting the roadblocks in the innings, like Schwellenbach and Hurston Waldrop on Sunday, and he doesn't pull the plug earlier, so they feel a little bit better. But it could help them in the long run as well. It just doesn't look really pretty right now because the Braves are struggling so bad to scratch across one run, let alone the multi-run comebacks that we're so accustomed to seeing from the Braves. That was another big thing that was kind of in my mind when because I do off day kind of thoughts in my brain, especially with the team struggling. The problem is there's not a Michael Harris that's a spark plug. Because all of the said spark plugs are in the low minors, as I mentioned, and you can't sacrifice your future just because you're struggling now. Plus, Spencer Strider's irreplaceable too. I mean, you can. We did it with Ronald Acuna Jr. in 2021, but we had to do that with four for one. That doesn't happen year after year. Injuries are something you're always going to deal with. Every team's going to have to deal with them. And we've just gotten bit by the huge injury bug that you can't really cover it up and make it not a gaping hole. Ronald Acuna Jr. and Spencer Strider are franchise cornerstones that we're trying to play through, and it's kind of impossible to do. And Alex Anthopoulos is always working, is always trying to find different things, but obviously every team knows that, so the price tag is going to go up every single time, or you're trying to make a trade, or any of that. So it is what it is right now. Chris Sale, Max Fried, and Ronaldo Lopez are absolutely fantastic. And maybe Brian Snitker will utilize a bullpen that hasn't really been utilized as much because we've gone deeper into games with the three horsemen that those guys are, that maybe we can piecemeal a good stretch together, and finally some of those balls will start falling, people will get jammed, find some holes, have a better approach, not try to do too much. But all of that to be said is you can say all you want, you can say all the good things you want, but you continue to struggle as much as a team, it's gonna start to annoy you. Even though the advanced stats say we should be doing better, the reality is we're not, and these guys are human. They know it, and you want them to show more passion and more fire, all that stuff. What do you want? A guy to kick a cooler and break his foot? Because that's like Jerry Kelenic did with the Seattle Mariners. So you gotta kind of harness it, and the Braves have done a nice job of that. And I don't think I have a problem with any of that. The lack of competitive at bats and the lack of competitive innings are concerning, but I mean, this is the stretch of baseball we're in, and I think it's just going to be a impossible grind. And we had one good stretch this year, starting 18-6, averaging 6.4 runs a game, so it's in there. And we saw it. So you just gotta, as fans, we've gotta believe that something's gotta give. And we've got the three horsemen in our rotation. The younger guys are getting baptism by fire. And maybe that'll be better for us in the long run. And it is what it is. But Ron Washington and Eric Young, that was the last point that I wanted to make. Ron Washington and Eric Young not being around, I think could be a little bit of a factor, but this happens every single year. The Braves were just so lucky to keep us staffed together for as long as we did. I don't think that has any factor to do with it whatsoever. I mean, it could be a tiny factor because there's continuity and familiarity and understanding and all of that from the human aspect, but from the baseball aspect, we just got to keep playing better or just got to start playing better. It's the simplest term, then hopefully we will. But Brian Snitker saying we're not playing that bad, that might have been a little bit of but he knows not yesterday, but the day before, he said you can't keep shooting yourself in the foot. So I'm pretty sure he's looking for a thesaurus to say the same thing in different ways, because there's not much you can say. It's just easier when you're firing on all cylinders, or they're close competitive games, you're right there, whatever. And the fact that they're not, everybody's searching for the words to say because they're 1,000 million times more frustrated than we are. So I just wanted to cover all of the topics that I could think of on top of my head that I've been getting a lot of, and just give you my opinion. You don't have to agree, you don't have to like it, but the Braves are our favorite team, and all we want them to do is start playing better. They want to start playing better, but it looks like the clubhouse is not fractured, and they're still having a great time and trying to play through this, and that's all you could ask for at this point. And somehow we're still in a playoff position. So we just got to start putting together some good series, and the W's will hopefully follow.